Good day, people. This is Holy Warrior Yancey, and this is Holy Warrior Yancey Productions. I just really feel like being open about where I'm at and some of the things that I've been through. One thing I know about life is more than just good and bad times. There's good and bad seasons. I'm talking about extremely long periods of time where things can be great and things can be bad. Thinking of the Bible, I was always caught up with the story of Joseph. God gave him a dream at a young age. And man, did he go through a bad season in his life to get to that place where God called him, to get to that place where he had a dream that he'll be one day. And I think of that story and I reflect on my life. And I'll go into that a bit. In the late 80s, there was this organization called World Impact that came into my neighborhood in Chester, PA. And a lot of the kids were going to the Bible clubs they had, and a few of the adults were going to the adult Bible studies they had. And that's where I end up giving my life to Christ a few years down the line. My friends were all going to Bible club, I say around 4th grade. They always told me great things about it, how they had, mentors there that played soccer with them, that took them down to a field to fly kites, and they had Bible study and snacks. And it sounded like a whole bunch of fun. So I went one Wednesday evening, and from there, I kept on going. Had my parents come down, sign me up, and I was there. And going through this program, I came across a whole lot of good male role models. Something that I didn't have at the time because my biological father, he had his demons to deal with, being an alcoholic and I guess being miserable. So he wasn't really much of a hands-on type of father. But anyway, I grew up in this ministry, started going in 1990. A few years down the line, 1993, I accepted Christ. So I've been with this ministry, elementary school, middle school, high school, and around 9th grade, I really started to read my Bible. I got saved just before 8th grade and continued with the Bible clubs and went to church here and there. And they had a discipleship program, and there you learned how important it was to read the Bible. And my relationship with the Lord really started to progress. About the time I was out of high school, the whole Bible club thing kind of dismantled in my neighborhood. They still had the main base in the center of the city, and they had a whole bunch of new missionaries that were doing a new thing on the other side of the city, and the church that they planted in my neighborhood went independent. And when that church went independent, I started to go to church and to Bible study and to continue to grow in the Lord. In 1998, the pastor of the church then, he set up to have a youth Sunday. So where all the our youth had a little committee of all the young people, and something just was put on my heart just to do the sermon. I've been studying my word for almost 5 years now, so I knew a little something. I'm not saying I was a Bible scholar or something, but I did get caught up in the word. And I felt though God really called me to do the message for our first Youth Sunday, and I did it, and it turned out good. And from there, I started doing messages every Youth Sunday, and even began to assist my pastor in doing messages on Sunday or when he was out of town. And it seems like I found a calling. I found a spiritual gift, and I got caught up in it, and I ran with it. And not just that, I was also helping out with the teen clubs, the middle school and high school kids. Something I really prayed about when I was going through teen club and Bible club when I was growing up in ministry. I always said that I wanted to do the same things that the mentors, that the missionaries were doing, and God blessed me to do that, and things were great. Mind you, brother wasn't perfect. You know what I mean? Brother was not perfect, but I served. In 1998, I was 17. So I was pretty young in ministry, and a few years down the line when I became 20, I got into my first real relationship, and I messed up. I had premarital sex, and I backslid a bit. But God, eventually, I had to step down, and I had some things going on in my life, So I was out the picture of ministry for about a year. But then after that period of getting myself together, I got back into ministry, and I served well again. Then I happened to mess up again. I met a young lady in church. We were the unlikely couple. But somehow we clicked. After doing ministry together and me teaching her how to drive, we clicked. And we became a couple. And unfortunately, premarital sex, and we had our first son out of wedlock. And it was another period in which I had to step down. So about a year later after that, I got restored back into ministry. Me and this young lady, we got married, and I was back in the ministry again. And ministry was it just made me feel so alive. I felt like that's what God put me here to do. Now, mind you, after I got married and was restored back in the ministry, serving for the first year, I felt so much guilt from my past, from being sat down. And it took me a long time to forgive myself. But eventually I did, and got into ministry. I was a new husband, a new father. This family man thing was new to me. And my whole mission was to be a better father and better husband than my father was. And I think God blessed me to do that. And I was happy. Getting into my marriage, I was truly happy. I felt good with ministry, felt good, being a family man. Had another child. Things was going great. Then a few years into the marriage, I found out that my wife cheated on me. And man, it hurt me like I ain't never been hurt before. And it affected every area of my life. It really did. It affected me on my job. It affected me on ministry. It affected my home life. It really took me down dark paths that I really didn't want to go down. My life was really full of misery. And Lord knows I tried my best to get over it. And I loved my wife, but I had lost respect. And it seemed like time would go by and a degree of healing would have took place within me. Then something new came out and it took me right back to square one. But anyway, as time went on, I continued to do ministry and work through that. But it really took something away from me. It really did. Like I was never the same. And as time went on, things got worse. Eventually, we separated, then divorced. I still held on to doing ministry, But then something else happened. After my pastor left, the assistant pastor took over. And it was a new era. And in the beginning of that era, it was almost like Sunday service wasn't Sunday service. And what I mean by that is it was almost like the Sunday service was turned into a woman auxiliary. And I felt like I wasn't being fed. And I believed at the time the new pastor was going through things with her husband, and she did a lot of messages on that, and it didn't really do good or work wonders for my marriage. It actually kind of brought some tension to my marriage. And there was a lot of man bashing going on, so I kind of just strayed away from church, but I still held on to working with the kids, and I did that, and I was hurt. And like I said, on to the divorce and separation. We separated. There was a whole lot of nastiness and bitterness going on between us because I did something wrong. I exposed what she was doing to the church, something that I regret. So oftentimes, she'll come to me and argue with me in front of the church just before I do ministry. Finding something to pay to argue about with the kids or whatever. But anyway, eventually I had to let that go. Or rather, the youth club dismantled. Things were kind of haywire anyway. But I went from doing ministry and being a youth pastor, being a minister, being so optimistic, so full of life, so full of purpose. Then it was like when the church dismantled, it was like I kind of lost my identity, you know? I felt like I no longer had a platform to be who God called me to be. And I was just so lost. I went from being a family man to a single father. Having my kids 1 week and she having another, to having them half the week. She got them 1/2 the week, I got them 1/2 the week, or just to having my kids the weekends, however my living situation or my job situation permitted me to have my children. And I was a wreck. It was like my family, marriage was gone, church was gone. I really didn't have no brothers to lean on. I was hurting. Lord knows I'm not perfect, but I fought for my marriage. Went to marriage counseling and I did everything in my power to try to save it, man. And that was probably the main issue. I tried to do it in my power and not God's power. But Lord, I did. Lord knows I tried. But anyway, it was just a period where I was just down and out. I'm telling you, like 2011, 2012 was just some rocky times. Like I said, I felt like I no longer had a platform to be who God called me to be. I was in a church where it was predominantly women. Wasn't really no dudes there. And I was probably one of the dudes that was there silently, and I was backing away because of the lack of men and the man bashing that was going on. But let me also share too that was rectified by the pastor too, and she apologized and she did things to honor the good brothers in that church. She did having a couple of Father's Day barbecues and giving honor and respect due to all the men that handle their business and men in general, and they really acknowledged and repented from that. So I will say that. But anyway, like I was saying, I was just lost. Another thing, I was doing ministry too. It was hard. It was hard because I'm a minister and we dealing with teenagers here. And how things went down with my marriage. It was a lot of my ex's family in the church. And one of them done put my business in the church. So as I did ministry, there were side comments from team members that were her family. I even happened to have Bible lessons that talked about, marriage and adultery with kids, which, just random things that happen just to be the lesson from a book or whatever that we was teaching out of. And I get funny looks and everything because my business was out there. The kids knew my business. The kids knew that I was cheated on and that she left me. It was all types of hurtful things going on. And it was just hard. And things ain't never really been the same for me since. I mean, a few years later, after things dismantled with the teen club and leaving the church, I eventually found a good church. And I stuck there for a while and went back to the church because it was hard for me to let go. So I've been there so long. And I never been to church where the love was real and everything. But man, it was just some hard times. I don't know. I seem to have compensated as far as regaining a platform by the posts I put on Facebook. You know, just things that inspired me about life and God, and more recent, the injustice that's going on with my people. I'm really vocal about that on Facebook. About things with relationships, things what's going on that's wrong against my people. I really been truly vocal on that on Facebook. And I do it in a way with so much passion. But I really yearn to get back in the pulpit. I really do. I really hope and pray that these videos that I leave on here find the right people. I talk about so many different things in my videos. I really pray to God that certain videos that I do, that they reach the right people and can help the people. Because in my heart of hearts, all I really want to do is give people relief. All I really want to do is be used by God to give people guidance, lead them down a good, righteous path. I also want to call out the things that aren't right. And a lot of that has to do with racism. And also I want to call out the things that's not right with my people, man, like the self-hate and everything else. I'm just very passionate about just giving messages, giving messages of hope, giving messages that will convict people of their wrongs. I'm just really passionate about giving a good word. Now I know that I'm not the best, but Lord knows I'm passionate, and Lord knows that I'm diligent with this. But I just really want to share where I'm at right now, and that's kind of what I've been through. And right now, those things are my vehicle to get the things that God put on my heart out there. I got Facebook, I have YouTube. This is what I do. This is what I feel that God put me here to do. I'm writing my book. It's in editing right now about relationships and adultery. But like I said, I really want to get back to that place. But one thing I know that I need to really find a church home. And it's been hard. As I was saying earlier, and eventually, after leaving my church, I found a good church home. And I had to struggle because I went back to my other church, because one, I couldn't let go, and two, what had me going back and forth, because sometimes my ex will start going to the church and I'll back off, and then she'll see that I'm start going to church and being serious, she'll back off. It just wasn't healthy. Even have our kids, in that because they felt the tension. And once I seen my kids try to do things that I didn't permit in the church, I wasn't having it, and I really stuck to my guns and found another church. Cause me and their mom not being together, and them being young, wanting to walk around, run around, and I tell them to go do something, and they come to me saying, "Well, my aunt said." I'm like, "I don't care what your aunt said. I'm dad. You better recognize." So that what made me really, really go ahead with this other church name. So they had went there when they was with her week, and when I had them my week, we went to another church. And the church I went to was a great church. It was great. Good people, very welcoming, good doctrine, everything. But the story had me leaving Pennsylvania, and now I'm in Maryland. As far as healing, as far as divorce, that's there. God has truly healed me from the hurt of the betrayal, from the hurt of the failed marriage. God has truly healed me and got me over that. But I have to be honest though. As far as my living situation with my kids, that's something that I'll never get over. Because I never wanted to be away from my kids. I always wanted to be there for my kids. I wanted to live with them, wanted to see them every day. Unfortunately, things didn't work out in marriage, so my kids go back and forth. And when I don't have them, I'm hurt. Even the things that I've been through with my ex, I'm over them, but I'm scarred. You know? And I'm not scarred in a way that I let the person I'm with presently pay for what was done to me, but I just got some hurts that really changed how I view relationships. I'm kind of cautious, you know. Not in a bad way. I don't put no wall up on me, but anybody who's going through a situation like that, they aren't the same. They move wiser, you know what I mean? They have a little defense to them. But anyway, like I was saying, there's good seasons and bad seasons in life. Man, do I know about a bad season? But one thing for sure, all I can do is lean on God and trust in God and continue to pray. I pray that God touches my heart, touches my mind. I pray that God has his way with me. I pray that God finishes the good work that he started in me. So all I really want to do, I want to be a blessing to others. I want to help others, especially my brothers. There's one thing I know out here, that this system is really against black men. And when black men hurt, they really had no one to go to. A lot of the times, all they got is the streets. It's been a lot of bad things shoved into black men, saying that we can't cry or we can't show love and affection to our women. There's a whole lot of mess out there concerning black men, and brothers need help. And brothers get no sympathy, none of that. Oh man, it's almost 30 minutes. I think I shared enough. But this is just me being transparent. This is just me sharing things that I've been through. This is just me being open and honest. This is Holy Warrior Yancey, and this is Holy Warrior Yancey Productions. Feel free to comment. Feel free to add another video or video rebuttal to anything that you have, to, or anyway. If I said anything that offends you or something that you want to discuss further or ask me further, you can have a video rebuttal. I don't mind that. Not at all. Not at all. And if anybody was offended, I mean no harm. I'm just being honest. But again, it's Holy Warrior Yancey, and this is Holy Warrior Yancey Productions. Take care, and God bless.